What's going on? I'm trying to figure out why it's not going live, yo. Are we live? If we live, y'all say something in the chat. Let me know. If we live, say something in the chat so I know we live. Otherwise, I'm gonna end it and try to start it all over again. We live. Say something in the chat so I know we live. Otherwise, I'm gonna. Okay, I guess that means we live because it can't. It popped up. All right, let's get going for today. So, in today's episode, welcome to the Tez Down Podcast. I am your host. I am Tez. As you can see, I'm getting going today. I ain't got the chain on, but it's all right. Don't need it on today. It's got the regular one. Um, there's a lot of stuff that we're gonna have to cover today, and there's a lot of stuff that we're gonna cover in the future. But I need to let you guys know that while I might not discuss politics on my show, I have no problem discussing things that happened in the world around us. I have zero problem discussing the things that happen in the world around us. One of the main things that I'm, upset about is the fact that whenever we decide that we are going to do something in our community, then we either get a lot of backlash about it or we don't get any support from this very same community that we're trying to do the stuff in. So, we're going to talk a little bit about this today, okay? We're going to start off today's episode with something that is near and dear to my heart, as I have father that is from St. Louis, and I just don't know why this type of stuff doesn't get out in public. And I really do think that it needs to. It needs to get out in public. So I'm gonna start the video off. We're gonna get to talking, and if the chat has anything to say about it, the chat needs to go ahead and let me know how they feel and what they want to say, and we're gonna bring this up right now.
Now to a News Nation exclusive investigation into a secret government experiment that was carried out in St. Louis. Residents tell us they still remember a mysterious fog. Children would run through it. Mothers would try and close their windows against it. For decades, they all had questions, and now we're seeking answers. The United States Army now admits that it sprayed a chemical that contained cadmium, a known carcinogen, on a neighborhood of more than 10,000 people. Critics say this was done with no warning and no consent. Well, tonight we return to the site of that demolished neighborhood and speak with former residents who believe the government turned them into human test subjects. Although the Army admits that the test happened, it is not admitted to harming the residents. News Nation's Natasha Zuvez investigates what was in the fog and why the truth may still be buried.
The fog drifted through the streets like a ghost.
That's exactly what it looked like, a thick fog.
It was summertime and it was hot. We would just run through it as fast as we could and try to just cool ourselves off. It stuck to you.
The spray was so foul as far as the odor. It made some of us have headaches, nausea, dizziness.
That's what I remember. It made me sick.
It wasn't the weather. It was an eerie smoke descending from rooftops, rolling from the backs of trucks.
Regular flatbed truck, but it had a big machine on the back. And it had a big nozzle that really sprayed a fog you couldn't even see through. It was that thick. And it really, we felt it as it would adhere to our skin. And as far as the guys on top of the buildings, they tried to portray them to us as maintenance workers. But we was like, what is a maintenance worker doing? And basically a hazmat suit. And they had masks and goggles.
In the 1950s and 60s, in secret, the U.S. Army sprayed zinc cadmium sulfide into the air of a St. Louis housing project, a largely black neighborhood called Pruitt-Igoe.
It was a lose-lose situation for us in Pruitt-Igoe. We were subjects.
They didn't ask for our permission. We didn't ask for them to spray us. My government used me like I was a guinea pig.
We're standing at where Pruitt-Igoe used to be here in St. Louis, and it's hard to believe more than 10,000 people used to live here. As we bring our drone up, you can see it's mostly just an empty lot now, overgrown with trees. This used to be filled with 33 high-rise buildings. It was all demolished in 1976. And according to the National Research Council, St. Louis was chosen for spraying experiments because it had similar characteristics to Soviet targets like Moscow in terms of population density and terrain and proximity to a river.
The government now admits to a secretive series of Cold War tests, including one dubbed large area coverage. More than 30 tests conducted across the U.S. and Canada.
You see, they said that they chose St. Louis. They chose St. Louis as their testing site because St. Louis was similar to Moscow. So there are plenty of people saying that the government in question wouldn't do anything to Americans on American soil. Yet we have so many instances where the government has done exactly that. The government has done exactly that, whether it be testing syphilis on Black Americans, whether it be bombing an entire city in the 80s in Philadelphia, whether it be bombing entire cities in the 20s, 1920s in Tulsa, and calling it a race riot, which is crazy. On top of it, like, just do a little bit of research on different things that the government has done. And I guarantee you, this won't be the last time that we find out about some of these things that they did to their own citizens. But one thing that I have to point out and make honestly very clear, every single time, it's Black people. Every single time, it's Black people. They have done this to Black people every single time. I cannot find any more instances of where they've done this, especially in the more modern of eras, where they've done it to somebody who wasn't Black. So we're going to continue watching this. So we're going to get this video out in its whole because this is very important that we continue to see about what happened in the past, especially people who are still alive. This is not slavery. This is not any of those Jim Crow situations that people like to bring up. This is actually something that these people are alive, and some of them, well, some of them aren't. We're going to hear their stories. I think we need to hear their stories.
Spraying zinc cadmium sulfide from planes, rooftops, and vehicles to simulate how a biological attack might spread, all to prepare for potential warfare against the Soviets.
Many of us been in the military and had top secret clearances. We know how it works.
We have died for America. We have fought for America.
You are a veteran.
I am United States Air Force veteran.
Dr. Starks, you're a veteran as well.
Yes, I am. I'm an Air Force veteran.
Sense of betrayal here.
Definitely.
They want to know if those secret tests have anything to do with what they're observing with their own eyes.
I lost my two older siblings to cancer. I lost a brother last month.
I've been diagnosed recently with a rare form of lymphoma.
I had cancer of the left kidney, had partial removal of my left kidney.
News Nation reached out to the Army for answers. They provided a one-page response. It says the Army's own Center for Health Promotion and Preventive Medicine investigated in 1994 and found inhalation exposure would not pose a health risk. They also cite later corroborating reviews, including a 1997 review by the National Research Council. Perhaps they assumed we wouldn't read the NRC's 380-page report, but we did, and the Army's statement doesn't show the full picture. In that 1997 review, the National Research Council explicitly says repeated exposure to zinc cadmium sulfide can cause kidney or bone toxicity or lung cancer if levels are high enough. And they admitted they couldn't fully assess the risk. Why? Because some Army records remain classified, it says, for national security reasons.
So these records are classified. They're classified records. You can only get a part of the picture of why this happened or what they did it for, But here's the thing about this. You wouldn't have people wearing hazmat suits if there was no danger. They wouldn't take the precaution if they knew that it was, this is not dangerous. In the least, this is not dangerous at all. Why wouldn't the people administering the test also be out in the clear and exposing themselves to the test? That's the question here, right? I'm going to go on out on a limb here and say, well, they wouldn't be out there in those hazmat suits unless they needed them on. Hazmat suits aren't cheap. They're not just plastic garbage bags that you wear around your body and use duct tape. This is not some Hollywood movie of where someone created their own hazmat suit. No, hazmat suits are expensive. They are.
Troubling, key Army exposure records were missing. And when the NRC asked the Army to supply them, the Army said it couldn't find them. Finally, the NRC considered conducting its own study, but concluded it wasn't feasible. In short, it did not test the site, collect samples, or test residents, and they didn't have access to all the data. Their review was based on what the Army gave them, and what the Army either could not find or withheld. The Army ends its statement to News Nation by saying, quote, none of the reports contained evidence of a radioactive component to the zinc cadmium sulfide dispersion tests. Residents say the secrecy and delays are no accident.
They're waiting us out.
They're waiting on all of us to die.
But that's not even the whole story, as residents demand to know what else could have been in that spray.
They have not come clean with what was in there.
Do you believe that it was just zinc cadmium sulfide in that spray?
No, I don't. No, neither do I.
We go to the source, a researcher who has spent decades declassifying government documents about these tests.
Do you believe the U.S. government sprayed some kind of radioactive material on the residents of St. Louis? I believe that they did.
And the government's surprising response to our request to declassify information.
I mean, what the hell?
Plus, renowned activist Erin Brockovich weighs in.
Erin Brockovich, y'all.
A lie here, a cover-up here.
It sure looks that way.
Yeah, it does. It's a cover-up.
The residents are asking for an apology from the government for being experimented on. They are asking for compensation, for health studies for themselves and their children. They're also asking for transparency. They want the government to release all the documents about the spraying. So, Elizabeth, tomorrow night on your show, we will go on a journey to try to declassify the one government document that a key researcher tells us she has never been able to expose. And we take the investigation to Erin Brockovich. For the residents still here, still fighting, the question is whether they will get any answers before it's too late. Elizabeth.
Well, they have a better chance of it with you on the case. Natasha Zuvez, thank you so much.
Those things, and they won't release the material related to digging out from underneath us to try to understand the scale of it.
And Dr. Lisa Martino-Taylor helped uncover many of them.
We know that they were giving radioactive cocktails to pregnant women. We know that they were feeding radioactive oatmeal to children in state schools. They've admitted to those.
They have admitted to giving radioactive cocktails to pregnant women and also feeding children radioactive oatmeal. So if this is not an attack on the Black community, then what is? I'm not trying to make this a racial thing. I'm not at all. But the people that we're talking about today are Black Americans in the Black communities that are surrounding the cities all over the country. No one has cared to say anything about this. No one has cared to do anything about this. And I think that's where the problem comes in at. It isn't just the fact that like something bad happened. It's that the government did this to people. No one cares. No one cares. This has nothing to do with being a Republican. This has nothing to do with being a Democrat or anything in between. This is not a political issue. This is a war crime. This is a crime against your own country. This is a genocidal issue. This is population control. So y'all are telling me that we're crazy when we say stuff like this, but then you have the evidence. The evidence is right here. The evidence is right here. All the documents, you can look them up. All of the instances, you can look them up. Eyewitness reviews. We're not talking about hypotheticals anymore, people. We're talking about stuff that actually happened. People who were actually affected. Families and generations. What are the generational issues that are going to come up in the results that are going to come up from this? What generational problems are going to be created by this? Are there any? Does anybody know? Does anybody know? Because I would love for someone to fill me in on what the issue is and what's going on. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to keep on watching a little bit more of this because, you know, I feel it welling up inside of me. I'm not going to crash out or anything like that, but I'm a little bit upset that people haven't cared. We could care about all the things that happen all over the world. We can have bleeding hearts for everyone and everything that happens. But every time it's somebody who looks like me, in this case, people who are probably related to me, having problems because of what this country did to them. And there's been there's been no type of help. There's been no support. There's been nothing. There's been no extra reports. They just kind of did it to them and left. That's just the way that it looks. They did it to them and they left.
Things, and they won't release the material related to St. Louis.
It's true. American children in state-run institutions like the Fernald School were fed radioactive oatmeal as part of studies by MIT sponsored by the Atomic Energy Commission. You can see some of the documents Dr. Martino Taylor worked to gather and declassify on MIT letterhead describing experiments on human subjects. The children, some of them orphans, were told they'd be joining a science club. They were promised a quart of milk a day, a trip to a baseball game, to the beach. A copy of the 1994 congressional hearing shows those children, now grown, describing being told the oatmeal was just vitamins and recalling the health problems that followed: lumps on my arms, my stomach. Pregnant women were also unknowingly given radioactive iron at top hospitals in Tennessee and California to study how radiation crossed the placenta, some later reporting miscarriages, illness, or birth defects.
They were killing
a class action
babies.
lawsuit resulted in a settlement
They
in
were
the 90s.
killing babies.
Do you believe the U.S.
Listen, this is serious. This is serious. That's population control. That's genocide. You're feeding pregnant women and children radioactive materials to test on them. Human testing in America on American citizens. And don't nobody have a problem with that. That's toxic. We are in a toxic relationship with the country. Not only are we in a toxic relationship with the country, the people from the past are in a toxic relationship with them. You're talking about 4 of the 6 guys that were sitting there were veterans. Veterans. Fought in wars. Fought in conflicts. This ain't right, man. This ain't fair. This ain't right. This ain't fair. Why are y'all like this? Why? Why does this have to happen to us? Why? There's no reason behind it. We're going to continue with this video. I'm going to lower my commentary a little bit.
government sprayed some kind of radioactive material on the residents of St. Louis?
I believe that they did. There's so much contextual evidence that points that way. And I spent years looking at this.
She says her research reveals the men who designed and oversaw the St. Louis experiments were some of the top experts in radioactive weapons.
They knew what they were
We know
doing.
that the people who designed the study, who oversaw the study, these were all the radiological weapons experts who were looking at open air radiological weapons.
One of them, Brigadier General William Creasy, was head of the Army Chemical Corps, the very branch leading America's secret radiological weapons program during the Cold War. He brought in a scientist named Philip Layton, who was the Army's leading authority on using radioactive particles in aerosol form, fog-like clouds designed to drift over enemy terrain.
So the very man who designed this spraying experiment in St. Louis was an expert in using radioactive fog against the enemy.
Yes, he was the expert, the expert.
Then she says there's the timing.
They were looking for a city to test their offensive weapons program. They wanted to do it. They expressed this in documents. St. Louis was their chosen city. That was their analog city to Moscow. And they wanted to do this in 1953. And they showed up in 1953 in St. Louis.
But there's one document Dr. Martino Taylor has never been able to unearth. It's still classified. The Joint Quarterly Reports detail the spraying experiments, all written by Layton himself. The last one is missing. It's called Joint Quarterly Report 5.
Where's it
and
at?
we tried to get it. Our team filed a Freedom of Information Act request on May 5th of 2025.
You guys can file FOIAs for
By
anything
law,
in
the
government, by the
must
way.
respond to a FOIA within 20 working days. But it's been more than 3 months. With multiple follow-ups, nothing. The silence is what's called a constructive denial, and renowned activist Erin Brockovich says it reminds her of cases where the truth was hidden.
So, Erin, what is your reaction to this News Nation investigation? Did this shock even you?
Absolutely. I think my comment was, are we WTF the kidding me? I mean, what the hell? It's awful. I mean, the biggest thing, and I've learned in 30 years, is it's always the cover up that enrages people, that hurts people. And I've learned that communities can handle the truth. What they don't
Yeah,
handle and
we
where
can
they'll
handle
tip
the
the
truth.
scale
This
is
community,
the lie.
this
So
community
this
can handle
has
the truth.
been a cover up, and I think that modern day agencies owe it to them. The truth.
Do you think there's been a lie here, a cover up here?
It sure looks that
Yeah.
way.
Our investigation now drawing attention from lawmakers, including Congressman Wesley Bell of Missouri.
When American citizens have been impacted and exposed to chemicals specifically because of the federal government, I think that we should do, as Democrats and Republicans, we should all do the right thing, make certain to make these folks whole again, get them the compensation they deserve and the treatment that they need and also deserve.
It can happen to you. Don't get duped that it can't happen to you. We didn't think it was going to happen to us. We was babies, kids. It can happen to you, too.
Representative Bell is now fighting to get Pruitt-Igoe included in the Radiation Exposure Compensation Act that would provide payouts to Americans who can prove they were exposed to radiation during the Cold War. But for Pruitt-Igoe residents, there's a catch. Because key records remain classified, they haven't been able to prove what they were exposed to.
What do you want everyone to know about what happened here?
The truth. Whatever the truth is, we want to know the truth. I don't think we get it now.
In the meantime, residents say all they can do is wait, hoping someone finally listens.
When will you give up this fight?
Never. Till
You
I'm
never should. You never should.
cold and dead and buried in my grave.
And Elizabeth, we asked the Army point blank, was there a radioactive component to that spray? It's interesting that they didn't just say no. Rather, they said, quote, none of the reports contained evidence of a radioactive component.
None of the reports.
Pointing us to reports like
None
a
of the
review by the
reports.
National Research Council. But Elizabeth, a close read of that report shows even the NRC admitted they could not fully assess the risk of the
No,
spraying.
they couldn't.
Because
could not.
when they asked the Army for key records, the Army replied the documents were either classified or they were missing. The Army could not find them. And Elizabeth, I have to tell you, these residents feel the government is waiting them out. The people you just heard from last night and tonight are the ones who are still here, who are well enough to speak. One woman we were supposed to meet with died before we could get to her. She was suffering from multiple cancers. Her daughter asked us to keep going, and we will keep pushing for information, including those classified documents, Elizabeth.
All right, Natasha Zuba, stay on the case. Thank you so much.
She died. She died before they could get to her. She died before they could get to her. She had cancer. All of these people are developing cancers, lymphomas, and different diseases that are directly a result of the United States government dropping poison, toxic chemicals on an entire neighborhood full of people. And nobody cares. And nobody cares. As you can see, there was no effort to even save the housing development. There's nothing even on the land anymore. They knew what they were doing. That's evidence right now. That's evidence. The evidence is right there. Documents being redacted, documents being classified. You want to talk about a toxic situation? We're going to talk about a toxic situation between the government and people who are Black, impoverished, or misfortunate in America. That's not fair that these people are going through all of this. It's not fair. It's not fair at all. It's sad. It's very sad. It's despicable. And this has nothing to do with, this is not a political conversation. This is a human rights conversation. That's not politics. Human rights isn't politics. You don't just go around killing your own citizens for no reason in the country. That doesn't matter what side of the that you, it doesn't matter if you're the red side or the blue side, the green side, if there's a purple side, if there's a black side or a white side, it ain't right. It ain't right. It's not. It's not. So I just want to say, for the people of St. Louis and other places that have had similar issues, I just want to say that, like, at the end of the day, you guys are out there doing what you're supposed to be doing. You guys are out there trying to make this known. You guys are trying to expose the corruption that was there for this. And I really just hope that one day, that you guys are able to get some peace, and you guys are able to be repaid back, and at least have your medical bills paid for, because this ain't right. This really ain't right. And if there are any family members or loved ones of these people that are watching or doing anything, y'all let me know, and then we're gonna let these people know that this ain't right. We're gonna let these people know that this ain't right. This ain't right. Moving on to our next topic of the day. We're still on toxic, by the way. Today's show is entitled Toxic Environments. All types of toxic environments. We're going to move on to sports and see what is toxic in today's sports. So, y'all get ready. We're gonna make this thing happen again. We're gonna talk a little bit about this trade that's been going on.
Mike is his own man, and he's going to forge his own path here. I think he's going to be a really, really good fit for our locker room, really good fit for our team.
I never thought I'd be traded, but that's the harsh reality. Everything happens for a reason. It's a blessing in disguise. I'm going to figure it out. The Packers organization made the right decision and trusted me. I'm going to carry that with me.
Jerry Jones clearly had no idea what he was doing to the Dallas Cowboys fan base once he traded Micah Parsons, because the ramifications from this trade are already being felt, and this trade just got so much worse. So for those of you guys that don't know what happened or have been living under a rock, the Dallas Cowboys traded Micah Parsons to the Green Bay Packers in exchange for 2 first-round picks, 2026 and 2027, plus a run-stopping defensive tackle, a very good run-stopping defensive tackle in Kenny Clark. Following that, the Packers immediately signed Parsons to a 4-year, $188 million contract with $136 million guaranteed, making him the highest paid non-quarterback in NFL history at $47 million per year. And fans are really frustrated by this, because you're pretty much trading Micah Parsons for 2 second-round picks, because the Green Bay Packers have the second best odds to win the NFC following this trade. It's not like you're trading Micah Parsons to the Cleveland Browns or the New Orleans Saints or the New York Giants or the New York Jets. This is a team that is probably going to have a draft pick in the 20s, and that's why Cowboy fans are very frustrated. And honestly, the reaction from Cowboy Nation is very warranted. I mean, you're seeing stuff like this.
It's my pleasure to introduce you to the Dallas Cowboys' newest player. Well, great to have you, and we're going to step up and do.
Back in 82.
Uncle Rico.
How much you want to make a bet I can throw a football over the mountains? Yeah.
NFL season's around the corner, and Dak Prescott just needs 1 passing yard in order for his square to hit. Guys, you can sign up with my promo code microphone to get a free $50 in lineups when you play $5.
Y'all not gonna use his. Y'all gonna use
I've already
mine.
been making picks so I can snipe the best.
It's the 1 ball at 24. Nope, it's not him. It's the 1 ball at 24. Use the 1 ball at 24 on prospects.
Trade was a long time coming, and honestly, old Micah Parsons video clips are very frustrating to watch, because you can tell this guy really wanted to stay in Dallas, even when Jordan Love, his future quarterback, was trying to bring him over.
Is there anybody particular around the league that you feel like can make an impact for y'all?
Dude sit right next to me, man. You know what I mean? That'd be pretty cool. That'd be pretty cool, no? You don't think so?
All right, listen. I'm a for lifer. Man, Jerry Jones, we done talk. That's my dog.
So following getting
He
the
wanted
news
to be
that
in
he was
Dallas
being
forever.
traded to Green Bay, Micah Parsons posted this video of him celebrating. But in his introductory interview, it really seemed like he did not want to leave.
I never thought I'd be traded, but that's the harsh reality. I got kids, I got, a house, I got family that all moved down for me. And it's a change, right? I don't even know what to expect. I never had seen anything outside of Dallas. And, Dallas is pretty nice itself. I wish things didn't have to be like this.
And a lot of this doesn't make sense. I mean, when you ask Cowboys head coach Brian Schottenheimer, yes, the same guy who many people questioned when he got hired, he came out and said that this decision was unanimous. Unanimous. Let that sink in. And by the way, this is a word you're going to hear a lot.
It was a unanimous decision to make this deal.
So we're gonna break this down for a minute. You have a player who thought that he was going to be a Dallas Cowboy for the entire portion of his career. And I'm not even going to pretend that I didn't think that he would be a Dallas Cowboy for the entire portion of his career. I really did. I mean, this guy right here, I've been watching a gambler and his Cowboys America's Team, the documentary on the flicks. And I got to say, like, the story itself is an inspiring story about how Jerry turned the franchise around that was going into the tubes after having a boom couple of years. And I still got to say that, like, the treatment that I see here, like, this is a very odd trade. Very seldom do you see top guys. And I'm not saying that he's the best in the league. I'm saying that he's one of the best in the league. Very seldom do you see top guys get traded the way that Micah Parsons has been traded to Green Bay. I mean, his stats do lie. Don't get me wrong. Numbers do lie, especially when you don't have, the right context for them. Since 2021, he's had 52.5 sacks. That's more than the next three closest Cowboys combined. He's first in the pass rush and win rate. That's 30.2%. His pressure percentage is 16.5 since entering the NFL in 2021. So, I mean, for the most part, those are career stats right there, and those are very good career stats. Top tier career stats. They will get you a contract somewhere. The thing is, I think the numbers between what Jerry wanted, and Jerry, who is notoriously the president, CEO, and general manager of the Dallas Cowboys, all in one, has decided that his negotiation tactics were going to be, look, I'm going to tell you what's going on. If you don't like it, you can get out. This is his Cowboys. This is nobody else's Cowboys. This is Jerry Jones's Cowboys. He does not have people running the team for him to this day. He does not have people running the team for him. He runs the team himself. Some of Jerry's comments have been, I think they were taken the wrong way. Some of them tried to liken him to, slave stuff, but I don't think that's what it is with Jerry. I don't. I'll be the first one to say I don't think that's what it is just because it's an old rich white guy that's right. If I'm wrong, y'all say something about it in the chat if y'all think that I'm wrong. Okay? If not, this is what we're gonna ride with right now. My opinion is open to change. When given information, you have two things. You're either given information that is factual or you're giving information that is opinionated. I'm gonna give you information that I believe is factual. And so far, the facts that I have is that not only is he not talking about things in, Arsis or, Avery terms, that this is, just a man that's running a business and he's a gambler. That's what I'm taking from this. Do I believe that some of his tactics are outdated? Yes. Do I believe that you do need to start talking with agents? You do need to understand that is the way that business is done in the 2025, in the modern arena of sports and just about anything else that involves business. It isn't handshake deals. You guys aren't going to the taco restaurant like you did with Jimmy Johnson to get him away from Miami, the university, not the NFL team, but you got him away from Miami by going to a taco restaurant. That wasn't going to happen with Micah Parsons. He has an agent that you have to deal with. I'm sorry, it's not 1988. It's not 1989 anymore, Jerry. So obviously this guy Parsons wanted to be a part of the Dallas Cowboys, but it turned into a toxic environment. Look how we pulled that together, y'all. It turned into a toxic environment. And the reason why it turned into a toxic environment was simply because one guy's old school, one guy's new school. That's not the way business is done anymore, but he wishes that some of the old ways would come back. Some of them, maybe not all of them, but we're going to reserve judgment. We're going to keep on watching to see exactly what this man has to say about this.
Today,
Yes.
Who was involved in that process?
The representatives of the entire coaching, as well as our entire front office. I really do get huge input and dialogue and opinions from everybody in our organization, and this was unanimous.
Could you imagine being a head coach and being okay with trading your best overall player? Hell, I would say that Micah Parsons is easily the best Cowboys player that they've had since the turn of the century. And if you think there's a better player, let me know in the comment section down below. I mean, I guess you could say DeMarcus Ware. So this all comes back to a question of why would the Cowboys
I would
do
say
this?
DeMarcus
And
Ware.
the original argument was it was a gigantic ego war between Jerry Jones and Micah Parsons, and that's a very reasonable explanation. Jerry Jones is a guy that has a history of making terrible decisions as a result of his feelings getting hurt. I mean, the man fired Jimmy Johnson after 2 back-to-back Super Bowl wins just to prove to him that any head coach could have coached America's team. But I think it goes way, way deeper than this. And trust me, I've been sifting through a lot of insiders that have been and giving their takes as to why this could have potentially been a good trade for the Cowboys.
I know it sounds crazy, but I applaud Dallas and letting him go and trying to build a culture of team instead of an individual. If they're ever going to be a real contender, they got to get better defensively. Now you say, how do you get better by losing Micah Parsons? I think you're just looking at that, like physically what he does.
And I don't necessarily agree with Herb Street over here. There's this one report that said that the Dallas Cowboys really didn't like Micah Parsons' podcast. It even frustrated Dak Prescott. And don't get me wrong, there's a clip of Malik Hooker even saying this.
Micah, my advice would be, we're at work and the run game's terrible, but you're doing a podcast every week and you know
Again, we're going to talk about the toxic environment. This isn't a situation between one player and one owner. This isn't a situation between one player and one team. This is a situation of one player against the entire locker room. The situation of one player against the entire franchise. This is multiple people in the franchise talking about how this one player's attitude doesn't necessarily fit their team culture. You can believe whatever you want, but if one player's attitude doesn't fit the team culture, no matter how good he is, that player usually has to go. And in this case, it was Micah Parsons. You have his teammates saying that they're not happy with with how he is in performance. The Dallas Cowboys' run stopping has been abysmal over the last 3 to 4 seasons. That's how they lose most of their games, if you guys aren't Cowboy fans or avid football watchers. And I do think that the NFL would be great to watch the Cowboys be great again. If the Cowboys were great again, that's money for every NFL team. That's money for Monday Night Football. That's money for Thursday Night Football. That's money for Friday Night Football and Saturday Night Football on all the days that we have it. I remember there was only one time last year where we had a full week where there was an NFL game on just about every day of the week. You had Sunday, you had Monday Night Football, you had a special Tuesday night game, you had a Wednesday night game, a Thursday night game. They skipped Friday night and they brought it on Saturday and Sunday, and that was fantastic for the NFL and the football fan, because not only did you get to watch the NCAA, you got to watch high school football, you got to watch you could watch other leagues like, my Team USA. You got to watch other leagues. We were all on TV and we were all having a good time. It was a boom period. Matter of fact, a lot of the fans that started watching and coming to watch me play and coming to my socials and my channels came from that week. So, and I will tell you, as a guy who's played in all these levels, that knows what's going on or been a part of it, been able to be in camps, that applied his trade at this, being a cancer in the locker room is a huge factor in why teams don't win, especially teams that are loaded with money and talent. If you guys didn't know this, the Dallas Cowboys are worth over $12 billion. That is the most valuable franchise in sports. More than Paris Saint-Germain, more than Real Madrid, more than Barcelona, as far as the foreign teams go, more than Brazil's entire national team, and more than any other franchise. I think the top 4 franchises in America start to come close. The top 4. Take out the Dallas Cowboys. You can combine the Yankees and the Dodgers, and you'll get close. You can even throw the Cubs in there, and then I think you just might get to that $12.5 billion mark. And that's just what reported. You got to remember, Jerry was an oil tycoon, but before that, he was a businessman and a gambler. We're going to watch a little bit more of this, but Micah's teammates are saying that he wasn't good for the locker room. Whether you believe it or not, these are his teammates talking.
the run game is terrible, then what are you really caring about?
But that's still not a good enough reason to make a trade that not even Madden would let you make. Meanwhile, Osa Odighizuwa doesn't seem to be that frustrated by this trade.
Got a little bit of familiarity with Kenny Clark. What are your thoughts?
I'm excited. I know he's a baller, so I know he's going to be able to help our defense a lot.
So let's talk about this, because I think this is one of the most fascinating trades I've ever seen. I mean, Micah Parsons just got traded to the Green Bay Packers. Wisconsin has a top marginal tax rate of 7.65% for high earners, meaning for someone that's making $47 million per year, that's going to cost Parsons roughly $3.6 million annually in state taxes alone. So over the life of his 4-year deal, we're talking about potentially $14 to $15 million in state taxes that he wouldn't have had to pay in Dallas. But here's the thing, Parsons is still making way more money than he would have with the Cowboys, even after accounting for Wisconsin State income.
That's a big deal, by the way. Not paying $15 million in taxes is a huge deal. He just by getting traded, he saved himself $15 million. And I think that his agent also knew this too. Not to mention him and his connection with Jordan Love. I think there's a lot of business going on here, guys, and there's a lot less feelings involved than what people are thinking. But you know what? We're gonna look at this breakdown a little bit more. Like I said before on the classic codes, and like I said before in the comment section of Souls of Thought, I think that Dallas knew what they were doing and that they knew that okay, he is a top tier player, but we can get better without him. We can get better without him. We can get better without him because we have more money to spend, and I think they knew that too.
Income tax, he's still coming out ahead by about $30 to $35 million over the life of the contract compared to what Dallas was reportedly offering. Sometimes you've got to pay more in taxes when you're making generational wealth. And here's another factor at play here with the tax system. NFL players pay state income tax for every game they play in a state that has income tax. So when Parsons was with the Cowboys, he was already paying state income taxes for road games in places like California, New York, and yes, Wisconsin. The difference now is that he'll be paying Wisconsin taxes for his home games as well. So the argument that Micah Parsons is technically making the same amount of money as he would have with the Dallas Cowboys $40.5 million contract is definitely not valid here. However, what is valid is the fact that he has mentioned that he was willing to take a pay cut with the Cowboys in the past, and I don't think he's being transparent with us when he says that money wasn't a huge influencing factor in his decision. Clearly,
money was one of the biggest factors. Money's one of the biggest factors. You wouldn't have an agent involved if it wasn't about the money. You would have done business with Jerry. I'm just, I'm being fair here. This was a toxic situation in a toxic environment. The environment is getting to be to the point of where you cannot be medium productive when you're expected to be maximum productive and have someone like Jerry Jones still be on your team about this. The only players that I've ever seen Jerry be like that with are Michael Irvin, Emmitt Smith, Deion Sanders, Terrell Owens, and now Dak Prescott. Okay, and a little bit of Tony Romo. Shout out to an EIU, Eastern Illinois University graduate Tony Romo for coming out of Illinois and doing his thing at a much lesser known Illinois college. Everyone likes to talk about Northwestern and U of I, but EIU, or even Western Illinois University, one of my father's alma maters, those guys do produce players, but Eastern, not so much. Jerry Jones saw that. I think that we need to stop, take a look at what's going on with these financials and what the locker room is saying, and then we can reevaluate how toxic the situation was. And it wasn't just about the money. I think a lot of it had to do with the money, but it wasn't just about the money. I think on Michael Parsons' side, it was more about the money, but I think for everybody else, it was too many red flags. Remember that red flag conversation we had a little while ago? I think that this has a lot to do with that. We're going to keep investigating.
I knew from the very beginning that Micah Parsons was going to demand a huge amount of money. I never thought it would get to $47 million. And I'm not saying he's not worth $47 million, because if there is a player that is good enough to reset the market at that position, it's Parsons. But you got to think about it, guys. Before the offseason, the highest paid edge rusher was getting paid $35 million a year. Myles Garrett came out and reset that at 40, which was already crazy, and then Micah Parsons came out and reset that at 47. So in my previous video, I did do a brief history lesson of other superstars that have been traded, and it's something
I'm gonna say not even just people. Classic said only people who think the Cowboys made a bad move aren't Cowboys fans. I'm gonna go ahead to say that the people who think that the Cowboys made a bad move might not even be football fans, might not even actually watch the sport. They probably have a favorite team, a hometown team, or a team that's a legacy team, like let's say the Patriots, or the Raiders, or the Steelers, or the Eagles, legacy teams that people didn't necessarily have to even be involved with, or even the Packers. Legacy teams that people didn't have to be involved with to necessarily be fans. But I gotta say, if you thought that was a bad move, not only did you unload a contract from a big guy, and everybody knows the bigger you are in the sport, the shorter your career usually is. Not everybody is Ray Lewis. Not everybody is Shannon Sharp. And we will get to Ray Lewis and Shannon Sharp in that conversation a little bit later, because once again, y'all, the topic of today's show is toxic environments. Toxic environments. And this is a toxic environment. This is a toxic environment. We're going to show that one more time from Classic. I think the Cowboys made a good move. I think that Green Bay made a good move. I think the Cowboys got better without him. I think Green Bay got better with him. And I think that the numbers are going to prove that this season. And nobody can say that, oh, they should have just kept him. It didn't work out for him. It wasn't working. It wasn't working. Pardon my hiccups. Pardon my hiccups. We're going to watch a couple more minutes of this before we move on.
I mean, you have the Las Vegas Raiders trading Khalil Mack to the Chicago Bears for 2 first-round picks, a third-round pick, and a 6th-round pick. The Bears then reset the market with Khalil Mack, signing him to a 6-year, $141 million deal. It made him the highest-paid defensive player in history at the time. But unfortunately, Mack didn't have a lot of success with the Bears. The Bears went 12-4 in 2018, won the NFC North, made the playoffs, but they never got past the wild card round when Mack was a member of the Bears. At the same time, it's not like the Raiders did that much better. They won 4-12 the season after trading Mack, and those first-round picks, they didn't really do much. Then there's Darrelle Revis, which I don't really think is a great example. The Jets traded Revis to Tampa Bay in 2013 for a first-round pick and a conditional 4th-round pick. The Bucs then gave him a 6-year, $96 million contract, but none of it was guaranteed. After one season in Tampa Bay, they released him. He signed with the Patriots for $12 million, and then he won a Super Bowl. Probably the best-case scenario here would probably be what.
Can I say that Darrelle Revis had a good time fleecing? I'm not saying that he didn't deserve his money. I'm just saying he went everywhere to all the contenders. He went to the contenders. He didn't just get a contract. He went to the contenders. And ultimately, his production was not high enough to warrant the contract. And I'm thinking that's what's going on in Dallas. His production, Michael Parsons' production was high. It was top, but it wasn't at the level of Myles Garrett, in my opinion. I think that Dallas's scheme caused that problem. I think that in Green Bay, he can play hybrid. And I think that once he decides to stay at hybrid and play hybrid in Green Bay because of how their defense is run, that his numbers are going to go up. And then you got to have the talking heads and the people in the comment section be like, oh, well, they should have kept him. No, he didn't work for their scheme. He didn't work for their pocketbook. And to be honest, they can do a whole lot more without paying $47 million somebody that's going to underachieve from what the mark that they thought they wanted him to be set at. Y'all watch and see. Y'all watch and see. I think this is going to be a season where the Cowboys show you that they're better than the joke that they've been over the last couple of seasons that we make about them. As football aficionados and players, we make lots of jokes, but you don't disrespect them. You don't disrespect them because the minute that you do, they're going to beat your team on Monday Night Football. That's just how it goes. They will beat your team on Monday Night Football, and they will joke about it because they're going to be on Monday Night Football, 3-4 times? Primetime football, y'all, every week. Y'all see the Cowboys in primetime every week. Don't act like you don't. Don't act like you don't. And I'm not even a primary Cowboys fan, and I can tell you that. Got to keep it real, y'all. We got to keep it real. This show is not a toxic environment. This show is not a toxic environment. But we will be moving on past this. If y'all got any more comments on the not the Myles Garrett situation, my bad, Myles Garrett, you catching strays on accident. If y'all have any conversation on the Michael Parsons topic and get Jerry Jones and the Cowboys and how it was a toxic environment that they needed to clean up, y'all go ahead and lay it down. But without further ado, we're going to be moving on to another one, unless we get interrupted by, the people. We're moving on to toxic situations, toxic environments, talking about discussion with the classic codes and souls of thought.
And right for the picking. And all you got to do is say, I got you. You do what you're supposed to do as a man.
Shout out to Souls
the
of Thought.
Woman go do what she's supposed to do as a woman. It works. My whole family is married to Black women. I don't know what an interracial relationship look like. All I know is Black women. That's all I care about. And I know that Black women are the most loving, the most submissive, the most all that you name. As long as I do what I'm supposed to do.
What Black women you done found? I need to know. What Black women has this man found? The most loving, the most caring, the most submissive? Where? You talking about darker skin, or you just talking about Black in general? Look, I'm not going to do this to y'all, especially the Chat 333, because I believe we cracked the code on this already. You're not getting that in that arena. You're not getting that in that arena. But like I said, today's show is called Toxic Environments. We're going to keep this going.
But I do say this, I'm gonna get that. Now, how can a married man up here? Hold on, lady, wait, pause 1 second. How can a married man who is experiencing the love and the things that he's saying that they not getting, get up here and say that this is what men are not getting when he getting it? I'm getting it. There are men in my
Are you
family
really though?
To men, though,
my friends are getting it. That don't make no goddamn sense.
Shannon,
You want me to
make no
respond,
damn
or you
sense.
want to keep it?
You make video after video.
I mean, how you gonna respond when how you gonna respond when Dr. Lady O respond?
How you the only loving husband?
She gonna cake every
You know
time.
I'm gonna cut you off.
I'm a loving husband.
How you the only
I'm a
loving
loving
husband? All other black men are bad men. You do the same
I didn't say I was.
See, they can't even agree on the panel. Let's count this. Outside of the 333s, outside of us, right? You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 seemingly Afro-historical black people having the conversation, and she is not even letting him talk right now. Most submissive? Where? Where? She not even submitting to his time to speak. He got 35 seconds to talk on this giant panel of people, bigger panel than I've ever had. 14 of us all together. Well, 13. Sorry about that conversation with Soft Rain. It is what it is. It's okay. You can be grandfathered in or grandmothered or whatever they want to call it by injection. Who knows?
I said I was the only loving husband.
He didn't say that.
I didn't say that not one time in my statement. Darwin is a loving husband.
Always dragging black men, Shannon.
Darwin, I'm always dragging trash. I will you damn right. I will drag the trash black man. I will drag the goddamn murder. I will drag it. Lady, I will drag any nigga who open up his mouth about the woman who gave birth to. I will drag any goddamn man who get up in here and disrespect my group of women. Point blank, period. Because that's what a man's supposed to do. I'm supposed to have more.
Toxic Environment 101. Toxic Environment 101. Let's go back and review this once again. We just talked about this for the last couple of days. As a black man, and I can speak as a black man in America, as a black man, do you think that sometimes we enable our own people by standing up for them and sticking up for them when they got things they really need to fix and things they really need to work on? We're talking about toxic environments today. Just because somebody is black does not mean you stick up for them. I'm sorry. Well, other people do it. We ain't talking about other people right now. We talk about the toxic environment that has been created, and that's no matter what they do, no matter how many times they do it, no matter how heinous it was, egregious or ill it was, we're going to stand up for them just because they somewhat resemble us. That is a toxic environment. That's a toxic relationship, and I am breaking up with it. I am breaking up with the toxic idea that I need to stick up for you just because you're black, just because we have a similar look, just because we have a similar struggle that we have faced through all of these generations. I do not have to stick up for you, especially when I know you're wrong. You have to have integrity. Integrity is much more important than just your sense of community and your sense of belonging. Your need to fit in cannot overlap your integrity. Your integrity needs to stand up tall and stand up higher than your need to fit in. How can we call out other people for how bogus they are and for the things they're doing, like we talked about earlier in the show about the government dropping toxic radioactive chemicals on St. Louis? How can we talk about that and then turn around and say black women ain't never did nothing wrong, black men ain't never did nothing wrong except for the bad ones? No. You know what? I know that the Souls of Thought chat and his podcast had something to say, so we're gonna keep it moving, y'all. We're gonna keep it moving. We're gonna see what they talking about, and then we're gonna respond to that too.
Smoke for men. That's what a man does.
Women,
what
right?
is y'all talking about? When we gonna start acting like men again? When we gonna start acting like men again? Y'all, you got these dudes who spend more time addressing women than addressing a goddamn man who call themselves leaders and shit. You got it.
So what do you guys think about this continue? I seen what you put in the chat, Classic. So let me know what you think.
Yeah, I said shit. Yeah, listen, numbers don't lie, man. 27% of black women are married. To my knowledge, that's still the least out of all the out of all the people, the ethnicities, black women are the least married. So with that being an actual fact that we can calculate, right?
Mm-hmm.
Since he's right, let's say he's right. Let's go with Shannon. Shannon, you right. They the most nurturing and the most lovingest, most perfectest, warm and supplest that you could possibly get. Okay, cool. So you right. But they're also the least married. So then my question to him would be why? What's the why? What is the okay? That's not the reason. They not angry, they not rude, they not disrespectful. They don't have treacherous past that they trying to get around. They don't come with baggage. None of that's true. None of that's true. They amazing. They amazing. We're gonna roll with Shannon.
Okay,
they
let's
amazing.
go with the hyperbole.
Okay, so why then? Why then? You just a 20-pound sea bass swimming by the shoreline, and don't none of the fishermen want to catch you.
Not a single one.
None of them. Not interested.
I think, I'm going to interrupt. I think that, to be honest, while we're talking about this, we have to really start to evaluate this, because this is a fact. It's an undisputed fact on all the dating apps, on even the polls in public, and even just the census numbers, the least married demographic. Okay? If you're that great, if what he's saying is true, that you're that great in marriage, then why aren't more of you married? Why aren't more of us married to you? And why is it that we continually, I say we as a collective, not just me, y'all. This is not a conversation just about me. This is a whole conversation. Why is it that our relationships don't seem to go the way that, Tim and Kelly do? Or Xiao Xiao and Champagne. I need to know. So, because I need to know about this toxic environment, we're going to keep on hearing about it. Let's get the rest of Classic's opinion.
No, just why? I'm not even saying how I feel. I want to know a rational reason. What's the why? Why? No, it's not just us. It's not just us. Nobody married. See, with us, our rate is a little higher because when we decide to step outside, we can go outside and have success. No, dudes from other races, like, no, not for me. Yeah. Not for me. Did you grow up in the suburbs? Did you go to private school? Them the type of sisters white men date. Grew up in the suburbs, went to private school. White men don't date Lakeisha. They don't. When they go black, they go suburban black. You know what I'm saying? It's just what it is. That's what it is. So, bro, if we just having a real conversation, if he's not full of shit, then I want to know why they the least married women in the country.
As a joke, over half the mixed black girls that I know are named Samantha. So that's really kind of funny that he would say Samantha, because it's really true.
Key, what you got for us, Key? Anybody else in the chat that want to female wise?
Yeah,
go ahead, Crystal. If you got anything for we here to we are actually here to learn and listen. So
yeah, absolutely.
I don't. So I listen to a lot of podcasts and content where it's all Black female panels. And the reason being is because I like to understand their perspective, because I can't say I advocate for women if I neglect a group, right? Because their struggles, their issues are uniquely them, right? In some aspects. And so if I can't understand their perspective, then I can't say I advocate for women, right? Mm-hmm. That being said, I can't really tell you, but I do believe that may be in part, not necessarily that they are undesirable, but maybe part of it is they don't want to pick. Does that make sense?
No.
Right?
No, elaborate.
No.
No.
It makes sense to me, but I don't know if you mean it the way it's making sense to me, though. Go ahead.
Yeah.
I think that in a lot of cases that there are a lot of women of color that may choose not to marry, right? Versus it being that they're undesirable to be married, but that they choose not to be married, right? Versus, you know what I mean? Like,
okay, but why? Why? Why are they choosing not to be married? Why are they choosing not to be married? Same question I can ask the men. Why are you choosing not to marry them? I don't know about everyone else, but I can speak on myself in this aspect. There are multiple times where I went into a situation where I thought to myself, if this works out, I can marry this one. Especially when my focus was, I need to have a wife. I need to have a wife, especially. Oh, don't get me wrong. I'm about to let her do everything she got to do. And this one, I'm pulling out the flares right now. You know, where's I'm pulling out the flares so she could, you know, back it in here. I didn't say back it up. I said back it in here, park it, land it safely. But that's what I'm thinking about this. I have wanted to be married on multiple occasions. I have met women that I thought were amazing that I would marry. That I ain't gonna lie, I tried to keep some of them. You know what I mean? I couldn't keep all of them. Some of them didn't want to be kept. You know, you can't keep what don't want to be kept either. You got to remember that. We're talking today about toxic environments. And you cannot grow where you're sick at. And if you're sick in an area, if you got trauma about whatever, they look like your daddy and you don't like your daddy and all that good stuff, and ain't no man ever did this, and this man did this to me in school, you're not gonna succeed. You're not. Let's see where she was taking this, y'all. We gonna keep on listening.
If you look at the statistics and you look at the numbers and you look at the complaints that Black men or other men have, right? The general, stereotypes that are placed on Black women, that it's, oh, they're undesirable. I don't think that's necessarily the case. I think it's that they don't want to be chosen, right? Then kind of going back to what I said earlier in the chat where I talked about that they have a disadvantage, right?
Classic.
Where statistically speaking, they don't grow up with fathers in the household. So who's to teach them how to love a Black man, or any man for that matter, if there is not a father in the household, right? I know how to move about a man because I did grow up. I was privileged enough to have a father in the household, right? So that's where I learned how to submit to a man, right? To follow a man's lead and to learn how to
That's that
love
word right
and
there,
respect a man
submission.
was by having the relationship I had with my father, which most Black women.
Well, I'm gonna finish.
Or there's a large number of Black women that don't have that same opportunity, right?
So we're talking about having a relationship with your father is one of the main reasons why a lot of women are able to submit, and a lot of men have emotional issues because they don't have a relationship with their fathers. If you didn't have a relationship with your father, it's going to be a lot harder to be a man. That's just facts. If you were raised primarily by your mother, it's going to be a lot harder to be a man because you've been surrounded by estrogen and feminine energy your entire life. Now, I'm not saying that it's impossible to be a man after being raised by your mother, but you will have a lot of issues growing up. You need your daddy, especially if he's alive. You need a father figure. You need a mentor. You need somebody. You need a coach. You need somebody that's going to bonk you on the back of your head when you're acting up. That's not violence, y'all. That's not violence. That's correction. Do not fear correction. If you're a believer, if you're a person who is spiritual, it says don't despise the chastisement of the Most High. It also says the rod of correction would drive foolishness from you. That's not violence. That's correction. And sometimes the only way to correct something is by smacking it on his hand and smacking it upside the head, or pinching that nose. Or in some cases, when you're really hard-headed, right in that nose of yours, knocking you clean out. When you get up, you're going to wake up with a clear perspective on what you just did. Once again, you cannot grow where you're sick at. You cannot grow where you're sick at. You cannot do it. That's like sending somebody with a corn addiction to a fest and say, I need you to sell water bottles to all the thirsty people at this corn convention, knowing that they got a problem. They ain't gonna sell no water bottles, man. Not a single one of them. They could get a lot of autographs though.
And instead of being held with grace, where they are taught by somebody, whether it be a brother, an uncle, or some other male figure in their life, how to do that, right? Given the safe space to learn how to do that, they figure, well, it's their problem. I'm just not going to pick, because if I pick, then I'll do wrong. You know what I mean? I think that may be an underlying thing for that. But once again, I can't speak because I'm not a woman of color.
No, you so nice. You know what? You are so kind.
They be so
you know what I
perfect in the
mean?
chat. They be
You
so
know,
perfect in the
yeah.
chat.
I love the perspective. You know what I mean? Because it's such a delicate touch to the conversation right before I have to tell the truth. You know what I mean? Because I'm with you. It sounds good for such a small percentage of them. You know what I mean? No. The truth is, a lot of what you said is so true. And it's why, generally speaking, the experience that a man gets with a long-term relationship with your American Black woman, it's a deplorable experience on average. Are there special ones? I say it all the time on my channel every day. Good women be louder. Don't I say it all the time? Good women be louder. We know y'all out there. We know it's not a whole bunch of y'all. We know y'all be in the house. We know.
I'm gonna have to say it for y'all. Good women be louder. The misconception that a lot of people have when they come across topics like this, and this is why I'm not shying away from these topics right now. I could easily do this show about anything else other than the demographic that we're speaking about. But if we're going to talk about toxic environments, we need to talk about our homes. We talk about cleaning up our homes first. And the first way you clean up your home, you clean up your family, your lineage, is to acknowledge what's wrong with it instead of sweeping it under the rug. Good women aren't loud enough. Maybe that's by design. But the same as most good men sit back and don't say anything about any of these things. When people were out at these bars and these clubs and these concert events, like, I thought that nobody was ever going to say anything because they got freedom, they can do whatever they want to do, and that it's socially unacceptable to talk down about it. Well, you know what? I think a group of us need to start talking about it. No, you don't want to find your wife shaking booty at the Usher concert. No, you don't want to find your wife, your girlfriend, your potential mother of your children having Chris Brown with a handful of her rump in a picture that she paid $1,500 to get. That's financially irresponsible, by the way. I don't care how much money you have to pay Chris Brown or grab your booty. It's financially irresponsible. Your priorities are wrong. Don't ever complain about anything if you've ever done that once. If you've ever done that once, never complain about anything financially. Secondly, don't ever ask a man to take you out on a date. I'm not saying you don't deserve it. I'm just saying that you aren't responsible with your own finances, so why should you get some of mine or theirs? You shouldn't. You shouldn't. Be presentable. If you saw me at a corn convention with a handful of rump that I paid a chick that does corn, y'all be talking crap about me too. My whole validity would be gone, right? Anything that I would ever say would be looked at under a microscope forever. This is the information era. Everybody has all the information at their fingertips. The last thing that y'all need is that, as an example. The last thing y'all need is somebody saying, does anybody have a reason why these two should not be wed? And the first thing they put on the screen is a picture of Chris Brown grabbing her booty 2 weeks ago at a concert because y'all made it socially acceptable to pay somebody money to, grope you in public. I'm just saying, good women speak up. Good men speak up. Black men speak up. Other Asian men speak up. White men speak up. I'm tired of the silence. The reason that the world is out of control is because of the silence. What are y'all afraid of? I'm not scared. When the country was going through racial turmoil, I spoke up. I made my voice loud and clear. I lost a lot of friends, man. My circle went from being this big to being this big. I lost a lot of friends because I couldn't stay quiet while people were out there disrespecting each other, while people were out there disrespecting themselves. And that's what's going on right now. I'm not staying silent. I'm not staying silent. And y'all shouldn't either. Y'all got opinions? Speak up on your opinions. At the end of the day, all you're going to get is feedback unless you step outside your body. I'm not about to punch you for an opinion. Everything that I'm saying is all alleged for content creation purposes as well.
We know. Be louder, because the thoughts, the 304s, the Jezebels, they screaming everywhere. They from the mountaintops, they on the panels, they got their own channels, they got boutiques, they screaming. You know what I'm saying? They on TikTok, they everywhere. And I just tell the good women, because the truth is, like, those diamond in the roughs, men are exhausted. They're no longer mining to get to the diamonds anymore. They didn't left the mines. They done left the mines altogether. It is, the diamonds are buried too deep now. You know what I'm saying? They all the chipping and what it, like the way what you articulated so elegantly, it shows up horribly. It's a horror film for a man. The results of what you're talking about, the lack of the male presence in the household, how that shows up on the first love boyfriend, how that reveals itself to him, it's traumatizing. What up, Sasquatch? Sasquatch in the building, chat 333 early. You know what I'm saying? And so I understand the why behind it, and I don't disagree with the why. But if we don't address the what as our reality, we'll never resolve anything. It's like every time it's time to talk about the harsh reality of the fallout, you know what I'm saying? We don't want to finish the conversation at that point. Because you know what I'm saying? It involves some, you know what?
It's because people do not want to offend other people based on their opinion, even if the offensive conversation is already being had. We're living it every single day. It's toxic to your soul to sit on something that's welling up inside of you when you know it's right. How many of you gentlemen who don't say anything about this behavior every day, if one of these women were being abused in front of you, would stop there and not do anything about it? Would y'all stop and take pictures? Probably not. You probably wouldn't. You probably wouldn't stop and take pictures. You'd probably try to help her while she get beat up. There are good Samaritans left in this world, y'all. Everybody is not disease-ridden, selfish a-holes. It's good people in the world right now, and you need to go and get that. Onions. If y'all don't know, this is an ongoing thing. Onions, because Mikey hates onions, y'all. So y'all bring the onions in here. What's up, my Ben podcast people? Mikey sends his onions. As y'all are well aware of, I do enjoy them, even though Mikey does not. But we do like the Ben Raider. Hey, what's going on? What's up? What's going on, Alistair? How you doing, man? Sarah, how you doing? Trip, what's up? Hey, I want to thank y'all for coming over. I know that I was live at the same time, but you guys that are in the chat right now, y'all need to go back when this show is over in the next 20 minutes or so. Go back and look at what I posted and talked about with St. Louis having toxic chemicals dropped on it by the government, and the government has been lying about it for 40 years. I had to expose it today. If anything else comes out, we will be talking about this again. But thank you for the chat. Thank you guys for showing up. That's the Ben podcast, y'all. You know, that network is very near and dear to my heart. And as I said before, when injustice was written in the world, I stood up and I opened my mouth, and it cost me a lot of friends, but I got all of you. So I appreciate that. We're going to continue with this segment before we move on to the next one, y'all. If y'all have any thoughts about it, feel free to jump in. We're hearing from our friends, Souls of Thought, the Classic Codes. Y'all go ahead and follow them too.
Because I didn't have my dad in the crib, I've been giving out a shitty experience to the men that I deal with. I'm avoidant, I'm this, I'm that, because we get the why. But if we're not, we never get to address the what because of the accountability issues I talked about. So I don't disagree with you. I just think when it's time to go to the next step of that conversation, that's always the demark. What you think, Norris?
I like your mine analogy, but I would tell people winter is coming. So you should, but no, I agree. I feel that especially coming from a mental health space that I have a lot of experience in, even the Black women who I have experienced that had fathers don't have a positive experience. And the reason why I say that is because the black community are starting. This is something we never talk about on any platform. Black communities are starting to experience so early greatness in today's day. You got to think about it. I'm a prime example of that. I had my first child at 18 years old. You got to think about. I mean, I was blessed to be a great father and have a great relationship with my daughter, but you got to think about people having children at 16, 17, 18 years old. What positive experience can you really have at that young of an age as a child? You know what I mean? Like, because you got to think about it. When I graduated high school, it was 04, dog. It was still Nokia cell phones and a brick. All you could play was Caterpillar. Caterpillar. You know what I mean? The
Yeah.
first like fancy phone was a flip phone sidekick. And then at that point, you had things like Black Planet, MySpace, Moco Space, stuff like that.
We really connected over the internet. Most of us connected over the internet. As you can see from the chat, a lot of people that have been watching content, a lot of people that have been supporting for all of these years, they all connected over the internet. And so with the internet, we have a responsibility that means that not only do we have to tell the truth, we have to expose these colloquialisms that have been getting thrown at us. Yes, I do think that people need their fathers in there. Yes, they do. I do think that people need to have these conversations at a more rapid clip. I want to thank the Souls of Thought podcast for providing that excerpt. We're going to go to another one, I think, from them about toxic environments. Now, all of us have had friends. Some of us have had best friends. Earlier in the show, we talked about how my circle went from being this big to being this big when I got online and started talking about the injustices that we were all facing throughout just this country and then overseas as well. I lost a lot of friends over that. My circle went from being like this to being like this to where I had a handful of friends that I could count on and people that I could talk to about what was going on with me. And at the time, my life wasn't perfect either. The pandemic took a chunk out of this rump. You feel me? It took a chunk out. It took the momentum that we had built was stunted. It was halted because people couldn't go outside. Gyms weren't open. And you know how bad it is for an athlete to not be able to go to the gym. I'm going to tell you, I gained 30 pounds. I gained 30 pounds during the pandemic. I had to lose it all back. It was rough, y'all. I had to lose all of that back. So with the next part of this toxic environment conversation that we're going to have, we've already done sports. We've already done news and topics and politics. We've already done relationships. We're going to talk about a very important one. And that's your best friend, your brother, your homeboy, your road dog, your co-captain. And Tripp said it good right there. People need to grow. And sometimes that happens. But at least you're growing. At least you're growing. We Shaza said, I never understand what you type. I always try, but I never understand. All right. I never get it. Where's Tons of Mice at? Yeah. Where's Tons of Mice? Because I know Tons of Mice got plenty of things. There's Tons of Mice. See, this is what I'm talking about. Y'all in Scotland saying stuff. I don't understand that language. I don't speak a wee bit of Scottish at all. And that's the best I can do. That's the best I can do. All right. We're going to move on to the next segment, y'all. We're going to move on to the next segment. We got 2 segments left in the show today. And then I want y'all to go out and check out the constituents in their channels. We love it. We love it. We love it. Where's that? There we go.
Hey, we got him down, Ocho. We got him down. The best time to, let me get my lick now.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody want to get a lick now because when your boy was doing good, you hear a lot of people that have a whole lot to say. Not everybody got something to say.
So now we're going to transition over to Ray Lewis so that you guys can understand the reference point of.
Yeah, we got to see where this came from. This has been a topic of conversation for the last couple of days. And I want you guys to think about this. So the reactions that I need, you guys feel free to put your opinions in the chat. If you have a friend, is he supposed to confront you in private before he goes to a public space like this? Like most of my friends right now that I consider my close people, we all make content in one way or another. I have a couple that don't like to be on the internet, but for the most part, my friends are in the spaces, and if I said something or did something that they don't like, should they confront me online or should they confront me? Should they do an interview with another popular channel or should they talk to me about this first? Should I be completely blindsided by this? And is it okay? Let's hear about it. Let's get the backstory
of what Shannon Sharp is speaking on. This is Ray Lewis calling out Shannon Sharp. So we're going to play a little bit of this. Let's see here. On Pat Bet David show.
Shannon Sharp, did you think he was one day going to be a good TV guy personality?
Yeah.
So you knew he was made for TV?
Yeah.
And would he say he's going to do it?
Yes, he had already started prepping.
How much before he retired did he come?
Been started.
Oh, so he's known he's going to be doing that.
Yeah.
So you're not surprised by the success he's having with his podcast and TV and him and Skip and Stephen A, all that stuff?
No, I'm not surprised. I'm shocked at his content. I wouldn't in a million years. The things that Shannon has said now or did now, I would never believe that Shannon will say or do any of this.
Like what?
Simply, I take drinking. Shannon, in my entire career, I've never saw Shannon with a drink. Ever. Like it was against the law. Right?
Is having a drink bad? Is having a drink bad? I mean, is that a real topic of conversation? If I saw a friend that drank for the first time and he was a pro athlete, he never drank during his playing career, I would hazard a guess to say that not drinking during your playing career is a lot different than drinking when you're a fully grown man with millions of dollars who no longer has to worry about performing on anybody's stage other than the one that you've created yourself. That doesn't involve your legs or your arms or anything other than your brain and your mouth and maybe, your facial hair if you have it. Sometimes Shannon do, sometimes Shannon don't. So,
right? Because he had some stuff in his family that he didn't want to follow that. And then so I kind of started to watch him, and then we kind of went our own separate ways because I'm like, you're gonna take that route.
All right, so we're gonna stop it there first.
I think it's a good place to stop it too.
I want to hear your guys' opinions about what you've seen. Shannon Sharp started saying that people take jabs at you when you're low-hanging fruit, like himself. We have Ray Lewis speaking on Shannon Sharp here. And I want to point something out because we debated, I guess we debated about this on Classic Code's show, and they were saying that,
yes, we did.
It was kind of different because they was once friends, things of this nature. If you heard what Ray Lewis said too, he did make mention that they end up parting ways. And that's why I mentioned on Classic Codes that maybe they had this conversation before. Not justifying that he should come out and talk about it publicly, but with that being said, we don't know what was said. So
no, we don't know what was said. We don't know what was said. And for the purpose of time, because I got another segment after this we're going to talk about this. I don't think that, in my opinion, I don't think that Ray Lewis should have gone on that show and made the topic of or continue talking about it in a way that was, talking about Shannon's character. I don't. That's a personal issue that y'all already had a conversation. Y'all already parted ways. You don't have to talk about it online. Him drinking has nothing to do with anything. Like, okay, yes, we get it. You're a super Christian. There are lots of super Christians out there who I communicate with, but I also don't share all the same views as them. And I don't think as an adult that you have to share the same views as me to get along with me. I do think that some of them are very core, like human rights and treating people with respect. I think that that's huge. But if you want to have a drink, if you want to have a smoke, if you want to have premarital sex or postmarital sex, do whatever you want. It's none of my business. I'm not in your house. I'm not. Oh, no problem, Alistair. Let's go ahead and do this. We do the rundown. Right here, we have Conversations with Soft Rain. That is the lovely woman to your left. We have Uncle Plug TV. We have Norris, That Souls of Thought. We have the Classic Codes, who was also involved with this conversation that was the first place that it was at. Please go through and check them out. As far as the Ray Lewis and conversation, that was on the PBD podcast. If you guys want to continue that one, you could go on the PBD podcast and see that one. But I would much rather y'all check out the Classic Codes, Conversations with Soft Rain, Souls of Thought, or Uncle Plug TV about this conversation that we've been having over the last couple of days. I really think that if you guys would go get some introspection on some of the stuff that we have been, interacting with and talking about each other, I think y'all would like some of that. Mine's a little bit different. Mine's a little bit wacky. I do touch on a lot of what they talk about, and I do have a due diligence that I need to do to my community as well as the people who do care about life in sports and life in general. I think that being unscripted is very important for me. I've always done my best work without a script, and I thank y'all after all these years of supporting not just the Ben Podcast Network and Mikey and friends and Tim and all of the people that have been involved with this over the years. I thank y'all for it, and I hope that y'all can meet these guys now too. These are great people. These are great people with great opinions and great content they're putting out there. The production value is at an all-time high, thanks to the internet and the way that things are running. And even though me and AI are not best friends yet, I'm learning to live with it. So yeah, you have. Yeah, you have. Don't get drunk with wine, for that is debauchery, but be filled with the Spirit. So tequila is fine, right, Tim? Tequila is fine. A little bit of beer, cerveza, if you may. I would go down with that. Beaned over. I don't know about all that. Good evening with Daily Blase, Blase, Blase. So we're gonna go. We're gonna go now into one of the second to last segments that we're gonna do tonight. And well, it's early morning, but it feels like night in here. It feels like night in here. I always watch them at night, so that explains why. That explains why. We're gonna hit the classic codes for a couple of seconds, and then we're gonna go into our final segment, which is the random video of the day.
Wow, you know what I mean? Like, because you got to think about it. When I graduated high school, it was 04, dog. It was still Nokia cell phones and a brick. All you could play was Caterpillar. You know what I mean? The first like fancy phone was a flip phone sidekick. And then at that point, you had things like Black Planet, MySpace, Moco Space, stuff like that. It was still easier because you wasn't as distracted. But you think about kids now, it's children having children. So I think as we continue to go through society, it's going to be even harder. It's no longer going to be about having a father in the house, because most Black men, when you look at them from a social media lens, what do most Black couples look like? It looks like a Black woman running the house. You got men out here wearing matching pajamas for Christmas.
Yeah.
You got all these things that Black men are doing that are actually demasculating themselves.
Yeah.
Instead of them looking like the head of the household. We think, we talked about this with Plug. I always tell people, we think over compromising or doing the things that we feel are right towards our partner are positive things, but some of that stuff is just things you've been programmed to do.
Yeah, you cannot allow your programming to dictate your future. You have to go out there. Hey, thanks, man. I appreciate it. Thank you. You already know, Alistair. I appreciate you too, man. I love seeing the content that you guys interact with. Thank you for that. We're gonna go, but not to finish that. I got overwhelmed with gratitude, but we cannot lean on just our own understandings. We have to go and seek knowledge. We have to be able to find out what's going on in our communities and in our lives. You know what I'm saying? Thanks, Soft Rain. Good to have you. You got a whole lot of new fans, Soft Rain. It is time for the random story time of the day. Maybe we'll get into, I don't know how long this one is. As you guys are well aware, I don't watch these beforehand. So because I don't watch them beforehand, I never really know what they're going to say or what they're going to do. So let's just go on this roller coaster together.
This man really had me in there fighting him. So I'm sitting here scrolling through TikTok and I'm coming across like these like toxic story times from your exes and stuff like that. And I have one. So one of my exes, right, cheated on me, gaslit me, and then fought me. Hand to God. Long story short, I was a promoter, right? Actually, I was an event coordinator and I had a promo team. I had a double-sided promo team of about like 20 to 40 girls and about 20 to 40 guys. We was throwing parties around Atlanta. We was getting big. I was getting known. We was getting clout. Like everybody would be getting clout, but they would pop up. Bitches was calling me from Walmart, like, yo, people are stopping me at Walmart, like, ain't you the girl that's from that team? Like, don't y'all be throwing the parties? We was lit, right? So my ex at the time, he had came to live with me after a situation that happened with his dad. And I was like, okay, cool. Come stay with me. I'll save you, whatever, And that was before we did the promo team. So that's how he ended up at my house, right? So we living together and then we do this promo team situation. That's the backdrop in a nutshell. One day I'm at the club. We throwing this big ass party at the club. It's called BCPE, biggest college party ever. We throwing this big college party at this club out here. And one of my girls come and pulls me to the side and she's like, Sway, let me talk to you. I need to talk to you. I really need to talk to you. So I'm like, okay, what's up? I stand over to the side where she's not saying nothing. She's not looking at me, which is weird. So I'm like, okay, I'm wasting my time going back to what I was doing in the party, right? Never thought about that shit again. Then one day, me and him sitting in the room, and he tells me like, yeah, like some of the other promoters we know. He named some names, some other people that I know. He's like, yeah, some of the other promoters that I know want to do a little meeting. They want to talk about some events they want to do at this new club or whatever. So we're gonna go do a meeting. I said, okay, cool, go do your thing. He left for that meeting at 12 p.m. He came back the following afternoon. When he came back, I was pissed off. Obviously, what the fuck was going on? Where was you at? He's like, well, I was with them. You know, I just fell asleep over there. I'm like at a man's house. You had to sleep over with a man, or was you with a bitch? Like, just
Wait. Okay, we talk about toxic environments, everybody. We're gonna stop her for a second. So he tells you he's sleeping over his homie's house. Obviously, he brought you in some of his spaces, and you don't believe him at all. So we're already starting to see that. I don't know. Look, y'all know on these reactions that I do change my opinion from time to time on who exactly is the one that needs a little bit more coaching. But right now, I'm starting to see some of these cracks in this toxic story, yo. I'm starting to see some cracks in the toxic story. Let's keep it going.
just don't even lie to me. Like, just tell me. It's a whole nother day. Like, it's nothing to lie about now. He's like, nah, I just stayed the night there in the living room, whatever. Like, we all ended up like just getting lit and getting drunk and shit. And I'm like, shit not adding up, right? Then me and him get to walk because we live like close to the store. So he was about to walk to the store. We walk into the store and I look at him. I look to the left and I look at him. This man had hickeys on his neck. I said, yo, how the fuck you get them hickeys on your neck?
Oh, okay. So we got some evidence now. So maybe she's not crazy. Maybe she's not.
He said, what you talking about? I said, you think I'm fucking stupid, huh? He said, I don't know what you're talking about. I said, you think I'm dumb? I'm sitting here looking at the hickeys on your neck like I'm not stupid. He's like, no, I don't know what you're talking about. I said, okay. All right. After that, I stopped talking. All right, cool. And then we walked to the gas station. We came back to the house. We get back to the house. I still ain't said nothing else. As soon as we get back in the room, he's like,
Speaking of which, Souls and Conversation with Soft Rain, this is why me and Classic don't want to go to Atlanta. As you can see very clearly, this is another Atlanta story. Y'all. So I'm just letting y'all know. We're not going to Atlanta. If we ever decide to do any type of meetup or anything like that, we're not going to Atlanta. None of us are. We might go there in private. It's the same as saying, oh, come to Chicago. Do you really want to do that? Especially right now? Probably not.
so you want to know how I got these hickeys on my neck? I said, shit, if you want to tell me. He goes on to tell me that he did go to the meeting. He did go to the lounge or to the club or whatever. But then there was a girl there that he met, and she gave him the hickey. So I said, so y'all was making out? He said, no, I wasn't kissing her or none of that. I said, bro, she had to at least be sitting on your lap close enough to you to give you hickeys right here. Like, I'm not stupid. So you telling me that you wasn't kissing the bitch, but somehow she was sucking your neck from sitting next to you in a section outside? You sound stupid.
It's coming out.
He ain't had nothing to say to that other than, I ain't nobody though. I ain't nobody sway. I ain't nobody. So, oh man, what the fuck, right? So that broke me down because I was giving my all to this man and to this business.
Oh.
That was it. And I was like, bro, what the fuck? Like, what is going on? Like, that shit broke me down that day. I was crying and all of that. Like, what did I do to make you go and cheat on me? Like, I do nothing but support you. Like, and you coming back, you lying to me, you cheating on me, you live with me, I'm running this business, I'm doing all this work. Like, what is going on after that? Because we ended up getting through that situation because when I was trying to find the tea that I needed to find about it, I really could not find the tea that I.
Oh no, not the tea, y'all. In a couple episodes ago, we literally had a whole conversation about this new T app, the T app and the T on her app. Oh no, not the T. Where are you gonna look at? Let's find out where she went looking at, and then yeah. Let's go ahead. I can't right now.
I needed to find about it. So I honestly don't even remember how we got through that shit, but I know I never got over that shit.
Whoa. So after all of that, chat, everybody in the chat, your partner comes back home and they have hickeys all over their neck. Y'all move straight past it like it didn't happen. So she moved past this like it didn't happen. But she said she never forgot about it. Yeah, it's the same T app. Okay, something's not making any sense here. We're gonna have to keep going.
I know that because it was a constant thing of like us fighting and shit. And he's like, well, if you would forgive me, then you da some shit like that. So I know I ain't never really get over that shit. I ain't never trust him again, right? Then there was one day we was beefing, and he used to get real disrespectful. He was very, very emotionally manipulative. And at this time, I was coming up off of a sexual trauma that happened a year before me and him got together. And every time we got into an argument, he would say, "Did you fight the nigga that you like you try to fight me?"
Whoa. So we got gas. Check out the episode that we did on the code language was gaslighting. Check out the classic codes code language, gaslighting. Make sure y'all check that out. That was gaslighting. Yes, he just gaslit her. But this seems to be very mutual in their relationship. See, would y'all think that they have a gaslighting type relationship based on this story time alone? Do y'all think that? So there's a lot of stuff going on right now. Listen, young lady, because of what you talked about, I am not gonna ridicule you on the internet. I'm gonna act with some integrity. So I'm gonna remove you from my screen. If y'all want to check out the rest of her story, y'all find her on She Gon Sway on TikTok. I always give credit to the creators that create this type of content. And even if I'm not down with everything that they're talking about or everything they're doing, I give credit to the creators that create their content. And I'm thinking that both sides are, yeah, Mikey, where'd he put that at? Where'd that go? Man, I just lost it. We are only hearing her side, and I'm already thinking that both sides are broken. Mutually agree, in my opinion, too. Yes, sir. I'm gonna say, look, if you have trauma in your life, you don't need to be in a relationship. You need this a psychiatrist, preferably a psychotherapist, a therapist. Get you your relationship partner is not your therapist. Your boyfriend is not your therapist. Your girlfriend is not your therapist. Their parents are not your therapist. They're not your intermediaries. They're not. Your best friend is not even your therapist, because your best friend, depending on what type of best friend you have, and we know about those interpersonal relationships, they might not be able to give you the type of advice that you actually need. They might not. So get you a real therapist. So stuff like this wouldn't happen, because once again, hurt people do indeed hurt people. And that is the average. We're not talking about everybody. I know some of y'all are emotionally healed, but sometimes you need to go and get help. And again, staying in a relationship is a horrible idea because you cannot grow where you're sick at. Toxic environments, people. Toxic. That was perfect. I didn't watch the video beforehand, but she gave me everything that I needed. If I was talking to this woman and I was trying to see her in a way, no matter what she looks like, I don't think that she was unattractive in appearance. I would just say that you need to talk to them first and say, look, while I may be interested in you, primarily, I think that your health is more important. That is your physical health, that is your mental health, and that is your emotional health. And I am not licensed, even if I was, I'm not licensed to be that person for you, but also be a relationship partner. Go get actual help, and I mean that in the best way possible. I've left a relationship before that I told someone that they needed to go seek professional help, and I was not being a jerk or a douchebag about it. So before we get out of here, we got one thing left to do, and that is chat Q&A. Chat Q&A. Y'all got any questions for me that y'all would like to answer? No matter what the question is, hopefully it pertains to the content from today, and that's the toxic environments. Go ahead and ask the question. Y'all are on the clock right now. Sounds like they're going around and around like a Ferris wheel. Exactly, Alistair. Exactly. I'm very careful who I go to when I bounce and vent off friends. I trust people who tell me what I need to hear, not what I want to hear. And that's very important. Most people will tell you what you want to hear, not what you need to hear. Being indie, I sometimes misread situations, so I will go to a select few and ask, is this person being a dick or am I misreading this? It's always important to get second opinions and third opinions. If you had a health diagnosis and you thought that it was too severe, the treatment, you would go seek an additional opinion. It's okay to seek an additional opinion, y'all. I may be a little old-fashioned on this, but it seemed like this is a case of airing their dirty laundry. Toxic environments. Toxic environments. If they cannot sort out the differences in private, maybe they shouldn't be together anymore. We parted ways. Remember, that's what Shannon said. No, that's what Ray said. We parted ways. Have you ever been the toxic one? Me? Yes, I have been the toxic one. I was a lot younger, and I was out for blood. I wanted revenge on an ex because of what she did, and it was very unhealthy for me. And I sacrificed pieces of my soul that I'll never get back, and that's why I'll never do it again. I'll never do it again. I'll never be the toxic one again because I'm not going to ever sacrifice those pieces of my soul again. Once you go down that rabbit hole, you start diving down that path to darkness. It's really hard to break yourself of it, and you can hurt the wrong people. You can hurt people that didn't deserve to be hurt by you. You can deserve people that didn't deserve to be hurt by you, and that's not something that I'm in the process of doing or in the habit of doing. I don't ever want to do that ever again. Classic codes. Why are black women statistically the least desired for marriage on a global scale? What are the main 3 reasons? From all the content that we've reviewed and from what the most of the studies say, it's a lack of submission or hyper independence, lack of emotional connection to the men that they're supposed to be dating, and also masculinity versus femininity is what the common topics seem to be on that. We can expound more on that at a later date. We can do that on any of the shows that we like to appear on. Is it toxic for me to shout out at a MAGA or reform supporter for being a racist halfwit? I think that's your personal preference. If that's what you want to do, go. I wouldn't say that was toxic. I would say that could create a toxic environment for you. Classic. I've never been the toxic one. I'm giving it a try now. It's awesome. I can't say that I didn't have a great time. I'm not even going to pretend that I didn't. This was a very long time ago. I was in my teens still, late teens, but it was very fun. I wouldn't recommend it, though, because it does take pieces of your soul that you might never get back. Me and you have talked about this a little bit. Miles said, Muttley Von Eric, that takes integrity to admit being toxic in the past. Well done for growing as a human. Thanks, Muttley. All of this is about personal growth for me. All of it. From the very beginning of the Ben podcast, when it wasn't called the Ben podcast, when it was just the town meeting. Shout out to those OGs. I have been about personal growth, and that is in every area of my life, except the stomach. We're trying to make that smaller. You have a measurement to measure desire. Sounds like horseshit to me. I don't know how you can measure desire. I'm not sure. I know that there are elements of desire that are very prevalent. I know that if for the average man looking for a woman, they're especially in my community, you're looking for someone who is, somewhat voluptuous, somewhat frugal because of the economy that we live in. Someone who knows how to, be stoic in public, whether it be on the man's side, handling issues with ease or appearing to handle them with ease. And on the woman's side, being respectful of the family members and the loved ones around you, but also not being too loud and boisterous. There are lots of examples of things that you can find to be desirable in another human. I think it varies by the individual, but if we're talking overgeneralizations, those are just a few. Alistair says, to be honest, I was toxic too. Yep, too young for relationships, so glad I got a handle on things. Yeah, I was heartbroken. Yeah, I got my heart broken. I was young and got my heart broken, and I don't really care to tell the story about it. I'm not putting anybody's names out there today. We do that enough everywhere else, but yeah, I was toxic. I did a lot of stuff that I probably shouldn't have done, and got myself involved with a lot of people that it was hard to get uninvolved with. It was the entanglements. The entanglements were bountiful and plenty. Yes, it was definitely villain mode, and I knew it too. I knew it. Yeah. Trip. How is a study going to measure desire by race? What the fuck? Whether we like it or not, it's ever prevalent and present on dating apps. The dating app algorithms actually do prove to be racially biased and demographic biased. If you guys would like, some studies on it a little bit later, if you guys can DM me, I can send them over to Mikey or send them over to or you guys can DM me personally. You can find me on each IG at the Soul Reaper 24 to send DMs to. Send DMs to Soul Reaper 24 on IG. I will answer them. But yeah, I'm not the one that did the studies. The studies are just available. I was toxic as a teen. It was a toxic home environment. Yeah, that causes a lot of it. It does. A toxic home environment causes a lot of it. I can't say that my home life as a teen was perfect because it definitely wasn't. Yeah, sorry, Muttley. Classic said, you can measure desire by results. Black women aren't the least married on the planet. That's a measurement of desire. Yeah, marriage rates are a measurement of desire. I mean, like the studies are proving this. It's not a measurement of desire. That's an opinion on black women. I agree. It's also an opinion on black women. As far as the studies go, the studies do exist. I didn't do them. As an individual scale, yes. Yeah, Trip. As an individual scale, yes, it is. To match people. Yeah. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. I mean, I'm gonna give my closing soliloquy now, if you guys are ready. Nope, no crash outs today, which is very good. I'm gonna go and say this to everyone that's watching. Number one, thank you for continuing to support me and all the people that I have touched. Mentally. I'm not talking about physically. We're talking about mentally here. Don't. Tons of mice don't start. I know you're waiting to say something crazy. Don't start. We don't have time for that today. What I will say is that I appreciate you guys coming out in droves and supporting me the same way that I've supported many of you, as well as the different types of content that we put out. Everybody's content is different. Everybody's content is different. Everybody's content is designed to move our society into a better direction and not just ruin. I do understand that on a small scale, we might not be touching that many people, but I do understand that on a larger scale, we're touching the people who matter. We're touching the people who are seeking self-improvement. We're touching the people who do want to know about these things. And just because people aren't talking about them doesn't mean they're not happening. You know, for example, we got a clarity thing. I agree to disagree. Classic Code says if nobody is marrying them, the final analysis says they're undesirable. The proof is in the pudding. Muttley said, thanks for clarifying. And no problem, Muttley. The proof is always going to be in the pudding, guys. I think that in order to get better across the board, we need to have these tough conversations. And I think that tough conversations are the only way that we're going to get by. Everything is not funny. Everything is not entertainment. It can be used as entertainment purposes. I do like to mix some entertainment elements into the content that we, myself, and others put out. The content that I type enjoy tends to be a little bit on the wackier side sometimes, you know, like me being in somebody else's living room right now when obviously I'm in the studio at my desk. But I think that it's funny. And I think this is a big one right here. You have to want to be married also. I think in our demographic, that not a lot of us want to marry us. I think that's true. I think not a lot of us want to marry us. As speaking solely from the type of black man that I have been cast as, I think they don't want to marry us. They don't want to marry a nerd athlete, podcasting, video game player most of the time who has 25 different anime tattoos. They don't really want that. They call us dorks, nerds, jerks, whatever. I don't fit the demographic that most people are looking for anyway. But the people who I do fit, most of the time, they're not the same race as me. You know, no need if there are no kids. That's true. If you're not having kids, you don't need to be married. I truly, unless you're looking for tax write-offs, that's a whole nother subject. I do want to close this out on toxic environments. And I do want to say, for everyone that missed the first 25 minutes of this episode, I want you to go back when I'm done, scroll back on your ticker and watch the first 25 minutes of this episode. They dropped toxic chemicals on St. Louis 40 years ago, and people have been coming up with all types of ailments. I have lost family members who have gotten sick and died from weird cancers as a result of this. This is not going away. This is the cat's out of the bag. The documents, a lot of them are classified. Please go ahead and watch this and notice that if you never heard about it before, you heard about it today. They have been in the past. It happened in 1920. It happened in the 80s, and it continues to happen to where they do experiment. They did syphilis on American black men, and they didn't tell them that they were giving it to them, a controlled result. They are trying their best to genocide and population control, as well as do chemical experiments on the black men in the United States. And I would hazard a guess that it's not just us. So go ahead and watch it. It's a national news broadcast that broke this. I had to break it here because most people aren't doing it. And it is ridiculous what they did to these people are still alive. Some of them are in their 40s. Some of them are in their 50s, and they're talking about it now. They leveled the entire project that was over there. Y'all go ahead and watch the beginning of this all over again, because I am very serious here. There are no jokes involved with when it comes to dropping radioactive chemicals on unsuspecting neighborhood people in a city just because it resembled Moscow. It ain't right. We're talking about a toxic environment. The environment in America is toxic. The government is toxic. And obviously it doesn't care about its people. It doesn't matter if you're veterans. It doesn't matter if you're voting red. It doesn't matter if you're voting blue. This is what's happening. And the minute that we stop being sheep and believing everything that they want us to know or don't want us to know and start doing the actual document request, go request a FOIA. You want to know about what happened in a particular situation, go request a FOIA and look at which documents are missing. Don't just look at the ones that are there. Don't just look at the ones that are there. You want to fix our community as Black people. I'm speaking from a Black perspective here. If you want to fix our community, stop falling for lies. Stand up for your community in the right way. Stop falling for the okie doke. Stop falling for it. Stop believing everything you see on TV. Stop believing everything that you read in the books and the newspapers. Go outside, talk to one, find out what's going on with them, and then look it up. And as always, we're unscripted. We're unscripted, and it's real talk. And I want to thank everybody for being in here. Dropping chemical weapons on people, infecting them with syphilis, removing the father out of the home. That's why we have problems. If y'all really want to know, that's why we have problems. Go and subscribe to the Classic Codes. Go and subscribe to the Ben Podcast Network. Go and subscribe to Souls of Thought. Go and subscribe to the Conversations with Soft Rain. And last but not least, go and subscribe to Uncle Plug TV. I have been Tez. This is your 24 for today. I will catch you guys tomorrow. I love each and every one of you, and I mean that with my whole heart. Keep doing good for the communities. Keep on making me laugh. And somebody send Mikey a whole bunch of onions. We are out.